Here we go.
There
Ooh,
he is.
ooh, doesn't she almost sound like Siri's hotter sister?
She does.
Yeah. There's a Zoom message, folks, that comes on when we hit record that says, um, meeting
Recording in progress.
Meeting is.
Recording in progress. She has a side gig for the
You want to
porn
call
industry.
1-900.
Yeah.
Have your credit card available. Hi, everybody. I'm John Harris here. We're renewing the Public John podcast. We're going to try and crank this up. And I'm here with two very special guests today with Dan Shenk and Vicki Carey Tremblay. And thank God.
Can't say Tremblay.
You
That's offensive to my husband.
don't say Tremblay?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't.
It's just it's offensive to your husband. whose name is Jones, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's imaginary.
He's imaginary as far as
He's a Bigfoot. He's like a legend.
Sasquatch.
Yeah.
You know, you're not allowed to kill a Sasquatch there's a particular county in Washington state. We're back
Really?
to stupid state laws, but there is one county you are not allowed to kill Sasquatch.
So were several of them killed and they had to come up with that rule?
I guess.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Well,
People wearing Sasquatch
so many
coats.
people go up to that area of the country to hunt for them. They're afraid somebody will actually go too far and kill them. And of course, it's a big tourist thing, is all it is. But
Yeah.
there it is. Somebody had to write a law that said, "Don't kill Sasquatch." We haven't proven he exists, but if he does, you're not allowed to kill him.
What happens if you do? What's the fine? Do you know? What's the penalty?
No, it's a county ordinance, so I'd have to look it up. I think there's some jail time involved. I don't think it's prison, but I think there's county jail time as well as a fine.
But can you process the meat? I mean, are you allowed to eat it?
See, that would be my thing.
They'd be stringy.
Yeah. Well, all depends. I mean, if he's eating a lot of beef jerky or whatever it is, Jack Links.
That's right. Yeah.
Might not be as stringy as you think. All depends on the diet.
That's watch burgers.
That's a lot of burger.
A lot of burgers.
That's a lot of meat.
In case you guys don't realize it, Dan and Vicki are comedians, and they are the people running Top City Comedy out of Topeka.
Oh,
I believe.
Yeah, that is
correct?
us.
Right?
Yeah, running it.
Boy, the level of enthusiasm there.
Running it into the ground.
Hey, you know what? At least we still have a ground to run it into. What the hell? We'll get a hold of Greta Thunberg to see where's the safest place to run it into the ground at.
It was Vicki's idea about 50 years ago.
Yes, we thought of Top City Comedy was invented when I was 12.
Okay. 12. Wow.
It was 2011, actually.
That wasn't that long ago, was it, Vicki?
It wasn't. No. 2011. I was 12, so that makes me what, 30?
Sure.
Actually, my oldest daughter is 2 years older than me now, so that's a thing.
2 years older than me. Yeah. Hey, Dan, I don't know about you, but I didn't know there was going to be friggin' math involved here.
Yeah, I'm out.
I mean, if you're saying this much, I'm like, okay. I don't even care.
Now I got to figure this out.
Yeah, now I got to get out a calculator. I got to.
He's like 34 now. So
you should see our business meetings when we're trying to figure out our money.
I know.
I try to figure out. There isn't much there. So
I was just going to say, in my case, I got to figure out my money, and it's done in about 30 seconds. Ain't nothing there.
We both have really different systems, so we both do our own thing, and then as long as we both have the same number at the end, we figure that's balancing.
Yeah,
it balanced out. Yeah. As long as we're not short money or we have enough money, we're okay.
Really,
I don't care who we had to extort. You extorted hookers and you extorted pimps. I'm not worried about classifications. Just give me my money.
No. We don't have separate categories for hookers and pimps. They're kind of.
I do like the idea, though.
I do. Yeah, I think. Well, one's management and one is but you got to watch because the other ones could try to unionize, and then you got all kinds of problems. You don't need that.
Speaking of hookers and pimps, we have a show coming up this Thursday. So
that's what it's called, right? Hookers
and pimps. Yeah.
If we
I think you might be on that show, actually.
I was just gonna say I'm on that show. We be turning some bitches out, yo.
Yeah.
There went the YouTube minors can watch this thing. I might as well be the one to break it with the language barrier. Click,
When
mature, no. Children under 18, yeah, that's out. Between pimps, hookers, and turning them out, I think I've already. That's gone.
oops.
Next.
Well, we had that 13-year-old in the show last week. We all did pretty good with him.
Yeah, we did all right. We did all right.
Yeah,
And we had the comedy open mic the other night, Happy Bassett. You had the kid that was winning the friggin' prizes.
Oh God, he won a bunch of them too.
Won a
Yeah.
bunch of them too, but we did okay with him. His parents.
That that'll compensate for the years of therapy he's going to have to endure.
Oh,
from-
absolutely. I think he went to school the next day and started talking about, stuff that Jay was saying about the audience member looking like a porn star.
She did. Did you see her?
I didn't see the picture. I was talking to her later going, I hope I get a hint to find out that she is. Actually,
Totally. Did you see it?
Yeah.
I was like, I hope she was, but
She exactly same glasses, same haircut, everything.
really.
Yep.
I look her up. Jay knows the name of which I wasn't going to go there with him, but I was like, he knew the name of the porn star and everything. I'm like, is she
Well,
on
the kids.
What? Well, he even mentioned. I think he said Pornhub. He was like, he even mentioned. I think I've seen you on porn. I was like, oh, man. That's scary. Kids
That's funny.
watching a hub is. Before we really get rolling here, and I ask these guys some this darn close to probing questions, let you guys know that we are sponsored by my friend Dennis and Graldi in South Jersey, believe it or not.
Wow.
He is the president of Vineland. He's the big cheese at Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey, folks. Their phone number is 856-690-9482. If you have a residential or business property need, whether you want to rent a house, rent out an apartment, find something to rent, you have a business you want to sell or buy or get involved in, Dennis and his crew down there at Vineland Realty Corporation are really good at, if they can't help you themselves, they'll help you find a resource that will get you the assistance you need. That is Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. They do have a Facebook page, and you can call them at 856-690-9482. Thanks, Dennis, for everything you've done. Yes, I am kicking this Public John thing back in, as well as the other stuff you sponsor, so we really appreciate it. But I'm not going to talk about you anymore. Goodbye.
Did you say violent?
Vineland, like Vineland.
Oh,
all one word.
I thought you said violent realty. I'm like, that's the kind of realtor I am. I'm a violent one.
I'm a violent one. Dennis is pretty low key, but a couple people in his office could be violent if needed to be. So,
yeah.
And he's got friends.
I was gonna say, you gotta have somebody to get everybody.
Dennis, his name's Graldi, so he probably knows a guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So guys, let's chat a little bit about, first off, Vicki, how did you start in comedy? If you want to say how long, you can. If not, you don't have
honestly, when I was 3,
which is the only way I'd want you to answer if possible. Honestly.
I'm pretty honest about everything. Some of it's made up, but even the made up part's the truth.
It's got some, and that's what you find out with comics is, in all honesty, the comics, or at least the funniest things they say, are either based on something you've either lived, experienced, or observed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah.
True story. True story.
True story.
True story.
Well, true story. When I was 3, my dad bet this dude 50 cents that he climbed to the top of the wrecking ball crane thing. He bet the dude he could get to the top. So 50 cents was a lot of money way back then. So my dad got halfway up, and the dude didn't want to lose, so he jiggled the controls, thinking that it would just kind of shake the chain, and my dad would get scared and wouldn't go to the top. Instead, the whole thing fell down and crushed him. Ooh. So he was in the hospital for 18 months, and they took out a whole bunch of his spine. And they said, he finally told my mom, they said, you need to take him home. He's going to die in 6 months. Just take him home, make him comfortable, and, do the best you can. So they promised that they would find something to laugh about so that I would have good memories of my dad as a child.
Right.
So they decided that they would find something to laugh about every single day, and all they had was me. So it was up to me. And I think I did an okay job because my dad did die exactly 6 months and 39 and a half years later. So that's,
39 and a half years.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So that, you know, he was a very happy dude. I can remember growing up feeling sorry for my friends because their dads had jobs. It's
Oh.
like, God, how hideous.
Oh,
That's,
man,
you
that's
know,
gotta
me
be
and my
awful,
dad paint
man.
motorcycles in the living room and you're
My
at a
dad's home,
job.
yo. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, why? Ew, that's horrible.
Ew.
So yeah, I think I've always been somebody who realized that laughter was very powerful, and I
Yeah.
like using that.
Yeah, and let's face it, there's times when without it, people would just go really off the wall. We think some of them are out there now, but without
I think
some
that's the
way-
problem with a lot of the society today is people are so afraid to laugh about something because they think it's funny, but oh my God, if I laugh about this, then somebody's going to think I'm a horrible person because I laughed. And
Yeah, yeah. And everybody's taking everything so serious.
oh yeah,
Way too serious.
100% serious.
And I think, I mean, they just look for stuff to be miserable about, or
Yeah.
look for stuff that isn't as traumatic as they think it is, or won't have the terrible effect that they think it is. Don't get me wrong, there's things in the world, there's always going to be a little something somewhere. But sometimes, folks, you gotta
You could lose a 50-cent bet.
Yeah, and just
right?
Half of my company's income. I mean, I could lose
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan? When did you start? And
I
when did you know
think-
this is something you wanted to do?
always knew that I just wanted to perform in front of people, you know,
Uh-huh.
just make them laugh. I mean, I can remember in like even kindergarten when the teacher would leave the room, I would stand up and do a little skit or pull something out of my pocket to try to entertain the other students. I got in trouble so
Oh.
much, but
I hate to
and
say
then,
it,
like,
I know exactly what you are. It used to be.
yeah, and if you
Yeah.
no, if you put me in front of a group of people and I have the opportunity to say something funny, I'm going to do it. You know,
Right.
like at a conference one time when we were training, there was like 300 other staffers there that were learning, and the question was, first get up and introduce yourself. Second, tell us what's your biggest obstacle. You know, because
Yeah.
I was in sales, and everybody's just giving all these normal answers, and I stand up and say, "My name's Dan Shenk, and my biggest obstacle is my '74 Yugo." You know, because my car was like needed work all the time, so basically. But I didn't even have a '74 Yugo, so
You go best guess yourself
Right.
something else, because a Yugo ain't gonna get you very far.
right.
Yugos. I almost forgot. Well, I had forgotten about that until you mentioned. I was like, oh man. Well, don't feel bad. I had both at different times: a Chevy Pinto, a Chevy Vega, and a Ford Pinto.
Oh my God.
And the
Oh.
Pinto,
Didn't the Pintos,
there was
aren't
an
those the
accident
ones?
in the back. Somebody hit the back end of my Pinto. I didn't know how close I could have been to dying. They were blowing up after impact.
Yes. I thought it was the Pinto that was blowing up.
It was
God,
the
some of those
Pinto that
cars
was
that were,
blowing up. If something hit the back end of a Pinto, the gas tank could explode.
I'm
And
not sure how we survived, people in our age range. I mean, I drove around in the back of
pickup
my
truck.
dad made an El Camino. They couldn't afford a real
Okay.
El Camino, so they bought a station wagon and cut the back of it off and finished it. Yeah, and turned it into an El Camino. And we rode in the back. I rode in the back for years.
Oh yeah.
I rode in the back for years.
We rode in the back of pickup trucks. We used to put, my dad used to put, or not my dad, my grandpa. My dad and my grandpa would take those beach chairs, not the long lounge ones, but the beach chairs, and figure out a way to tie them to the back of the pickup truck. So we'd be sitting in beach chairs in the back of the truck. And of course, when you
Okay,
get older, you'd
listen
have
to
a
this.
beverage or two, and you're driving around and woohoo! It was like, hey, cooler in the truck. Somebody driving away.
Yep.
At one
When
point,
I was
I had,
about
go ahead.
when I was about 12, my parents owned a 68 Lincoln Continental. You know what those were? They had the
Oh,
suicide doors, so they
Yep.
opened this way.
Mhm.
And my grandma lived in Redding, Kansas,
Okay.
out that way.
And
And my mom got a really good deal on a calf in Meriden, south that
Okay.
way.
right.
So she put a little box in the back seat of the Lincoln, and me and my little sister in the back seat of the Lincoln, and put my dad in the car and got in the car, and they drove to Meriden to pick up this calf. It did not fit in the box,
No.
but so they put it in the back seat of the Lincoln, and me and my sister sat in between the feet.
Right.
His head hung out the window and his tail hung out the other side.
Nice.
That's how big this calf was. And we drove through town. And I remember, I will never, every time I go to this intersection, I remember this. We were kind of broke dicks in our family. Because it seemed normal at the time. And now
Right.
that I'm talking about it, it probably wasn't.
Like, yeah,
But I
even
remember
back
pulling
then
up to
it might
that.
have been sketchy, yeah.
I remember pulling up to the stop sign there in front of Capital Federal Bank. And this cow had his head hanging out of the window, and this man was sitting there with his window down, and he went like this, you know how you look.
Yeah.
And then the cow moved in his face, and I mean, just the look, the man's expression, that helped. I mean, it was a wonderful.
Was it like a pet cow?
He did look like a pet cow. He did not pee the whole way there. I thought that was pretty nice.
Wow.
He was delicious.
I was gonna say, did you eat him later?
We did.
Later on. And later
Yeah.
on, he served his purpose. And what
He
it?
was delicious, but yeah.
Steve Martin and Jerk, I found my special purpose.
But I think that's probably how come I became a comedian, because my family, like I say, they just tried to make everything seem so normal. I didn't realize we ate like rabbit and squirrel, and I thought that was normal.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that it's because we were poor.
Yeah.
Did you eat rabbit and squirrel?
I did.
Did you ever eat possum?
Did not.
You never had possum?
I never had possum.
Have you ever had possum?
No, never had possum.
It's stringy, but
yes,
it's pretty good.
Squirrel, yes.
Where did you get your possums from?
Well, I thought they got them from the possum store, but it seems now looking back, seems that
chances
perhaps
are they did
was
get them at the
in
possum.
one of my parents' many trips out shooting guns.
Roadkill.
Well, you got to be careful because you don't want to get one from a possum mill.
I know. Well, they're weird.
They would be weird.
That's funny.
I
mean, we were poor, but my parents seemed to get us everything we
like
needed.
Real food.
Yeah.
I mean,
it might have said "save" on it on the boxes. Always save. But
rabbit is very good too, and squirrel is good.
You know you're getting meat that's almost expired when it doesn't have a date. It has a time.
Right.
Cooked by noon. Oh shit!
Right.
Oh, it's 11:45. Shit, I gotta.
Exactly. We gotta get home. We gotta get home.
So you guys didn't grow up
because
thinking
like 15 minutes
a little bit of green on the meat means it is more tender?
Oh yeah, well it saves you on getting lettuce for the salad.
There you go. Yeah, see?
You're still getting your greens.
Your vegetables, yeah.
Lots of ranch.
You gotta do what you gotta do to stay healthy. You know, it's important to have a balanced deal, a balanced meal. So
well, I mean, it was a good weight loss program because you would always just kind of crap it out after you ate.
Oh, you know,
right away.
It's either gonna fly out one end or fly out the other. So yeah. You know, your body becomes a human.
Have to worry about absorbing all those extra calories.
No. There's no absorption at all.
Just in and out, one way or the other.
So, Vicki, when was your first time on stage? Do you remember?
He's talking about comedy, Vicki.
Yeah. Not the pole dancing thing and all that, and you know.
You know what? I think it was when Dan Ballard was. We used to have a DJ in town for V100. His name was Dan Ballard. He was a professional comedian. He was very funny.
Okay.
And he started doing. I'm trying to think if there was a time before that, and I just don't think there was. I think the first time I ever actually stood up in front of people and did stand-up comedy was with him, and it was just kind of, oh my God, this
free flow.
I need this. So.
Yeah, one of two things happen when you go on stage, and Dan, you probably know this too. You either really like it, or you're like, I got to get off of here. I'm never going to stand in front of more than two people again.
I mean, I am not going to lie. I get nervous still to this day sometimes when I get on stage, and I don't know what it is, but as soon as you say the first thing that comes out of your mouth and you hear that little bit of laughter,
then you're okay.
Sometimes is all it is, but then it's just like all goes away.
Usually okay until just a few minutes before I go on stage. Now, the first few times I wasn't. That time I've told you guys about in Atlantic City, I mean, I'd been a policeman for years, had been in quite a few things that I probably never should have got into, and had things that my chest was pounding so hard right before I went on stage. The
Yep.
worst I'd ever had it in my life. It was like boom, 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 boom. I mean, I thought the barmaid was looking at my chest saying, either he's got great pecs or he's having a heart attack, one or the other, because it was just jumping. And then, of course, within a minute and a half, I heckler, and after that, I was like, this is my bucket list. I don't give a shit, and I just gave it back, and it took off from there. But yeah, it's the same thing. You're right. If you're not a little bit nervous every time, before you go on stage, then maybe you're just not invested in it, I think.
It's an adrenaline rush, though.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it is.
Yeah, it is for me too. And
there's so many times that I will, when we're doing our thing, and I'll come in, I'm like, I can't, I'm not getting up. There's not, I'm not,
I've heard you say it. Yeah, I've heard you.
And then it's like, oh, give me that fucking mic.
Yeah, literally, she'll say, "Hey, you're doing everything
Just
tonight," and I'm like, and then pretty soon she's standing on stage. And I'm like, "What are you doing up here?"
What the hell?
Just go on, just go away.
I thought you were practically leaving, for Christ's sake. Now we can't get you off.
Yeah,
that's me. That was like the other night when I'm reading the numbers. I'm like, I got to tell some jokes in between. I got to pick on these.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's give yourself a mic, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, I want to roll. When you said, "Hey, do you want to?" Sure. you know yourself. You don't want to give it up sometimes if you can get a laugh or two out of it. So.
Well, it's just a good way to test material. I mean, you're trying to build that big set,
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's a lot.
And I know that I don't know if I can kind of throw this little seed out there, but Dan Ballard is going to be coming back and doing a show with us probably this summer. So
nice.
Yeah,
it is going to be very nice. I've heard of very exciting.
So that would be good. That'll be cool.
Yeah, he's very excited about it. So
yeah,
that's good. Where's he at now? Is he still in the area or
Michigan?
Michigan, yeah. Oh, Michigan. So he was a chef after he left comedy. I think he did a lot of cooking. Became a chef.
Really?
I think.
Really? Wow.
When I would see him cooking.
Okay.
It wasn't food that he was cooking.
I was
it was possum. It was dead possum.
It was a lot of possum. Yeah, he ate a lot of possum.
Possum's back.
Well, there was some wildlife and game going on.
But he ran an open mic back here. I mean, and that's where I did a lot of like in Topeka anyway, is where I got started in comedy.
I was going to ask where you started and how long you've been in it.
So I mean, as far as being on an actual stage that people paid to go see comedy, was with him,
right?
And an open mic. So it was, and that's actually, Vicki and I didn't realize this until later, but we both were doing those open mics with Dan Ballard and didn't really put those pieces together till probably a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and even now, I don't remember us ever but. I was married, and that was a wild. I mean,
which husband?
Comedy the same.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh yeah. Well,
the same invisible one.
There's so many people you meet in this, especially when you do open mics and stuff. That between that and sometimes audience members too who come talk to you, and there's so many people that when you're just beginning, and if you don't have a way that you've connected. Yeah, you're not always going to remember everybody, so it can get a little involved.
And I'm old. I don't remember people. I mean, people come up to me and remember me from school or from, I babysit their kid or whatever.
Yeah.
I had a guy come up to me the other day. He was cute. Oh my God, he was so cute. And he's like, "Do you remember me?" And I'm thinking, "Oh,
I wish."
Was it Rainbows? I mean, I'm thinking of all the clubs I used to go to, because in my head, I'm still, like I say, it's really confusing for me when I see my old fat grandmother walking past the window that I'm walking past.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
Saw a thing the other day.
And
the
then
guy
he
said,
told me,
"I
he's
can't
like,
believe-"
you taught me, remember you were my Sunday school teacher. And I'm thinking, oh my God, no,
Oh, I was
I have to go to
depressed 'cause I
confession
blew you.
now because that is not what I was thinking we were doing.
That was completely the opposite. Yeah, I was going to ask if I gave you a clean
That's where she
bill.
got most of her comedy material at.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
not what I was thinking we were doing at all.
Yeah, not even close. There was no
Being
book.
on our knees, it was involved, and not like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, other than the knees thing, I don't think the two things
Yeah,
are made the same. Yeah.
yeah, I'm
One of these
bad.
things is definitely not like the other. So,
Right.
yeah. So did you start
just
in Topeka, Dan?
do it now.
Did you start in Topeka?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the Manhattan, Kansas area a few years, to go to college and stuff like that. And then I picked up doing a lot of comedy up in there. I became the person to kind of go to for hosting most of the shows
Oh, okay.
because I didn't have a long enough set really to kind of
To
do much
really
more
stretch
than
it out and
yeah. So, but I got to work with a lot of cool people like Bob Zaney and
Yeah,
Jimmy
Oh.
J.J. Walker and people like
you do
that.
get to
So,
meet a lot of very cool people coming
You
through.
do, you do. And it's funny because I always joke that they won't remember me, but I remember them, so that's all I give a shit about.
Yeah,
Yeah. But you do. Doing New York.
I'm very cool with blooming where I'm planted. Sometimes I wish I would have gone and gone to a bigger market, but I've made a lot of people laugh here, and I think I've planted some seeds for other comedians that I think
Yeah.
are doing very well for themselves. I read about him now, and it's like, yeah, he started at Top City Comedy, or
Yeah.
he at least was able to use what I was doing here to go on and do bigger things, and I'm happy with
It's
that.
really great, that guy, and I remember him. Yeah, I mean, and that's a
Yeah.
big thing. I mean, there's a couple folks out there that started at some shows that I was holding and hosting in South Jersey who have kind of taken off a little bit from where they were anyway. And you're like, hey, that's pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
and Vicky's a really good idea person. I mean, she founded like Laugh Lines here in town. Ish.
I didn't. It wasn't my idea, but I'm one of the founding members. We have to do it though. But yeah,
Now,
the
what is
improv
Laugh
company at
Lines?
Topeka
I've heard
City.
of it, but I don't know what it is.
You should come.
What is it?
We have a show coming up in March. I'll figure out when the tickets are and see if you can come up.
Okay.
But it's an improv.
There we go. So
It's complete improv.
is it?
So yeah,
couple
there's
improv
like
things.
13
They're
people, and me and the director are the two last founding members. We were the two. I was doing stand up, and I thought, oh, this improv class looks like it'd be kind of fun. I bet you I could learn to, deal with hecklers and do some
Yeah.
more,
Oh yeah,
exactly. You always feel like you can better your craft.
yes.
And man, I fell in love with that energy. That's just so much fun to
Oh,
have
yeah.
another person to work off of. I would do that all the
And your
time if I could.
free range imagination can just go.
It does kind of ruin you, because the thing you learn is, and I teach a class called cranial aerobics, which is kind of doing improv for everyday people.
Mhm.
And the thing that in improv is you never deny. Whatever you think you're going to say, that's the right thing to say.
You just gotta
So
say.
after 30 years of learning that, I've kind of got a hard time. I say what's there, and I believe everybody can do that, but everybody else has a filter where it's like, oh, I can't say that with my grown-up voice. Well, I don't have that.
My mother, before she passed away, she had brain surgery and all that. She had beaten cancer a couple times, but she knew she only had a couple left, and she was in the hospital. And she used to call every once in a while. She'd call everyone in separately, because she knew she was saying her goodbyes and stuff. And of course, she did the fake mother thing. You're my favorite. No, she goes, but I worry about you the most. She goes, because your brothers are married, and I've had 2 divorces. I was like, yeah, that shit worked for them. And she goes, blah blah blah. She goes, but you don't have a filter and you don't have an off switch, so I'm afraid I'm going to see you first. Oh yeah, well, yeah. Now she was always docile until after the brain surgery.
Yeah.
Everybody used to say, "Where'd you get your sense of humor?" And nobody knew. And then finally, my mother lost basically the filter.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, things she was saying, everybody's like, "It's your mother. We figured it out. It's your mom. She's saying everything she always wanted to say, and she sounds just like you." So she looks at me. She goes, "You don't have a filter, and you don't have an off switch." And I went, "Mom, I think you're wrong about one of those things." And she goes, "What?" I said, "I'm using a filter right now." She was like,
Well,
"No,
20
son of a
years
bitch."
ago, filters you didn't have to have a filter. Now
No.
you almost have to think you.
No,
I mean,
now you have to think almost.
almost.
Almost. Unless you don't give a rat's ass. I think I've gotten to that point. Yep. Where I don't. What are you gonna say? I'm not
What are
funny.
you gonna do to me?
I'm
Yeah.
offended.
Aw.
Bummer. You know. I mean, I am still.
I'll
working
never
on
work in this
disclaimer
town
joke.
again.
Yeah,
Yay,
I'll
I'm
never
retired.
work in.
Just-
Yeah, I'm
just like 2
retired. I
weeks
don't
ago.
give a. Huh?
Just like 2 weeks ago, you and I had went to the same open mic
Right.
there in Manhattan,
Oh,
and
and I
you
find
had to
out
change your
2 minutes
whole
before I'm going on
Yeah.
stage about that.
because they're like, and you can't do this.
Oh,
you
by
can't
the
do
way,
this,
you
can't do
can't say
this.
this and you can't say that.
How do you
I was
do
like,
it? How
and
is
I was
that
the
open
first
mic?
guy on.
Yeah,
He
you
tells me
know,
that right after. Well, I ended up being the second guy because Jeremy went on first.
Right.
But
I understand that, but the only way you learn to read an audience and to know whether or not you should say something is to say it
Is to
and
say
to
it.
be able to understand that feedback. I'm not 100% behind. There are shows where you have to tell people, okay, you're doing this for TV.
I
You
mean,
have to do it for a
right.
PG-13 crowd.
TV,
But
or
I think an
it's
open
a
mic needs to
family
be
show.
just that. I think
Right. There's kids in the audience, that kind of thing.
yeah,
But
open mic means open.
It's open.
That's where you try your stuff.
and that's what
And
you're supposed to do. That's
yeah,
really where you're supposed to hone in your material and see what works, what doesn't. Edit, try everything.
and learn to read your audience, you know?
Right. Exactly. Well, going early, that's why, it's called taking the bullet. When you go early,
Yeah,
you guys know.
because you don't know the audience.
No, I don't know the audience. I might get no laughs, even though I think the stuff's funny and other people might later. But you don't know, because if
You
the
don't.
audience is uptight or is anti this, they're not going to laugh. And it's like, oh man, but you take the bullet so that the rest of the people know. But it all works out in turn. I mean, I took the one in Manhattan because I hadn't done that in a while. And I said, well, let me see. And a couple things worked and a couple things didn't. And I'm okay.
And you also mentioned that you kind of wanted to be able to sit back and watch everybody else.
Yes.
So
And I do that most of the time. And I'll watch other comics. Some guys stay in the green room, guys and gals, they just don't want, most of the time they're almost scripted. They know what they want to
Right.
say and all that.
they don't want to get distracted at
They don't
all.
want to get distracted, change their set. Well, if I go out there and I'm watching you, Dan, and you come out and you're, or Vicki, and Vicki's talking about giving blowjobs and shit like that. And if you see the audience
Talking about.
then I know I might need to stay away from that. But how else am I going to know if I'm not observant?
Right.
Or Dan, when you bring out the inflatable date, and you bring her out, a whole different thing than I do. But
that's the cool thing about comedy is because I think that people are like, oh, they stole my set. No, they didn't steal my
really
set.
didn't.
We all have the same ideas of what's funny, but we just deliver it differently.
Right, exactly. I mean, face it, we have the same topic on that thing.
You don't want it?
But it's two completely different sets because of how we do it. I mean, you come out and you have her there, you go into the jokes, what you use her for, and all this other, and I go complete 180, and it has supposedly nothing to do with that except the one first line where I just say, there's 4 or 5% of the normal relationship things, that's important. But I don't come out and get as graphic as you do.
Well,
and it works for both of us. I mean, yours works great for you. I think it's funny as shit. And I even have friends of mine who like mine, but go, well, one of my friends came with me and saw yours, and she goes, I think his is funnier than yours. And I was like, I don't like you either.
Here's the thing. There's only like 7 storylines in the entire world. If every single movie, every single premise, there's only a limited amount of premises.
That's true. There's only a limited amount of ideas that there are.
Yeah.
It's how you present them. I mean, how many comics do you know have sets or at least a certain amount of jokes about airplanes and about flying? I mean,
because we all do it.
Because we've all done it, not just comics, but everybody else, so they can relate. So it's one of those things you can relate to. So yeah, you're right. You have the same ideas. just how do you present them?
Yeah.
And your presentation is what makes it funny. Yeah. And
Yeah.
your
What's your what
different
is your
observations.
vision of it?
Yeah, your observation of the same thing is different than this guy's observation of the same thing. Human nature. I think that's what makes it funny.
I agree. I mean, it's timeless jokes. I like them because there's certain things in life as well that are going to be funny regardless of whether you're 16, 25,
Right.
75,
Yeah.
because you've all been through it
Right.
at some point.
Right.
Whether it be dating or, relationships or, sex, any of that stuff.
I mean, big thing now is, looking at, well, it's not, it got a little big. It's tailed off a little, but I think it's going to come back as online dating profile jokes. I mean, now it's pretty acceptable. In the old days, listen to this, about 10 or 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, you didn't want to admit that you met somebody online.
Oh yeah.
Now it's like commonplace. If you, it's
Well,
almost,
yeah. How else you going to meet them?
yeah, I was gonna say it's
Or
almost.
did you used to put the little classified ads in the paper?
Yeah,
Oh,
remember
yeah,
the
the
back
pitch.
page of the papers, and or you had to go to bars. They used to say grocery stores and laundromats, and take your dog or kid to the park, that kind of thing. It's a whole different world now. So
Used to be you didn't want to take your kid to the park
right,
because if they
because they
thought
said,
you
oh,
had
he's got a
kid,
kid, or he's automatically married, she's automatically married, yeah. Now, it's like, oh, that's so cute. He's got
And you can't really put like "not my kid" on the back of their shirt because
Right.
then you get a lot of looks too.
Yeah,
like
because
that's
he's
weird.
then cops are watching with binoculars distance away. Alpha One, he's driving a white van with no windows.
well, I made a lot of good money renting my kid out to single guys.
Oh yeah,
Because that, it's like you take my kid to the park for an hour, give me $50, or it's good.
$50. Look, you can.
I mean, sure they call it trafficking, but
But other than that, he stays with you, and and if you leave him, we're coming for you. Then you kidnap him, and we're you're in trouble. So. Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, people will always go, "Do you have kids?" I went, "Nah, I sold them."
Yeah,
Nah, I've sold them.
Dropped them off at the firehouse.
Yeah, I just dropped them off. They weren't happy in the house. Especially when they were babies, they were always crying, and I was just like, "Nah, they're not happy." So you got to.
So when you say you sold them, does that mean you do have a whole lot?
So I don't have any.
You sold, well, you don't, but you could
But I
have
don't
sold
have
them
any,
to the
not because
sperm
I didn't
bank.
sell. I should clarify that. I've never had children. I should say
You sold them to the sperm bank. You could have a lot of them.
that's true, and I'd have a lot more
See?
money too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember the days when you went to the sperm bank and they actually used magazines? Now it's just your big TV screen in the room, I guess. That's what I heard. But so where are Top City Comedy's next events, and how many do you guys try to run a year, or is there no set number?
We don't have, we'd like to do one a night.
Yeah. Oh, well, then you're cutting down.
Vicki somehow has a stash of chocolate cookies.
I see she's trying to be discreet about it.
Like, you cannot wait for 30 minutes.
And she's going, like if your face was right here, Dan.
We gotta do.
You want one? It's
this
almost
girl's
6 foot in your
fed.
face. You want one, Dan?
Right.
No,
I'm good. I can make it
right now. One of us has to talk right now, and you got your mouth full of candy.
It's like, next question is Vicki.
I was going to say, which is a step up, but congratulations, Vicki.
No, but we do at least 3 shows a month right now.
Yeah.
2 open mics, and then our just third Thursday shows, what we call it.
Okay.
So
boundary, right? Usually.
And then we do satellite events too. So every so often, certain places, let's say we want to do a comedy show, and then we just book the talent and put them on. So
that's great. I mean, and I've seen some of the comics. There's some great ones out there.
There is. We really. This is a very talented area of the world. If I don't know if you go to Topeka Civic Theater, but they do some musicals there that. We've had people come from New York and Chicago and say, "Are you going to sneeze on my food?"
Yeah.
Oh.
He will if you want him to, though. You know, similar to the, you know, the slightly green on the meat. You know, he could put some.
But and we've had people come and say, "Oh my God, this production is as good or better than something that we've seen in New York and Chicago." So we just got some amazing talent in this town, whether it be comedic or writing, singing, dancing. I mean, we've got some amazing singers. It's crazy. You know what? Topeka sits on a crystal bed. So I think all that good energy goes down in there and then comes back up, but all the bad energy does the same. So we do have all the crazy stuff happening too, but we do got a lot of talent.
Well, I think the creativity is the stuff that that we need to have expressed more, and of course, comedy is, to me, it's the ultimate, because you can not only help people by making them laugh, but it for us, at least for me, sometimes it's therapeutic. There are times I say things that may not be funny, but I got it out there and thought it might be. You know, I have a thing, you guys haven't seen it yet, and I keep hesitating on bringing it out because I don't know that the material itself is that funny, but what I've been told is the presentation is funny, and it's a weird thing. One of these days at an open mic, I'll break it. I'll whip it out.
Wow.
Okay,
well, that's a night I better be up on the stage if I'm whipping it out. You know what I'm saying? I can't be doing that. You know. But yeah, one night maybe at Happy Bassett, I'll break it out and give it a try and see if it gets a reaction here.
It's a good test market.
Yeah,
I have a joke that my therapist is tired of hearing my stuff, and it's a joke because I don't have a therapist. But it is
sounds like me.
But it is true that a lot of times I work through my things by being able to make other people laugh about it.
Yeah, write about it, put it on stage, and let's face it, you expand it, you embellish it because for the laughs.
Sure.
The crux of it goes back to it's your perception, it's your experiences, and it is.
I got a 20-minute bit out of my kid getting hit by a train. I mean, that's the only way I can deal with that.
Yeah,
he's fine.
I've done stuff about, like when I tell ex-wife jokes, I've been divorced like 30, 35 years. I mean, I've been divorced for so long, but I have a thing, and my one friend, Joe, you guys, she just gets tired of them because every day somebody will say something and I'll go, oh yeah, it's like my ex-wife, or oh yeah, my ex-wife. It's like, it's just, she's like, you really have a problem, I think, because you need to go see somebody. As long as I'm telling these ex-wife jokes every day, I don't need to see anybody.
Exactly.
I don't care. It helps me. So yeah, you're right. It's sometimes, and it's not just therapeutic for us. The people listening that can relate to what you're talking about, it is for them too. And sometimes I've had people come up and say, I went through that too. I didn't know anybody else, certain things that you've said. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, I have a blast doing it, but you guys are great and running this thing and keeping it going and giving folks a chance to do this, to go out and get on stage and see. Some of them just go up to see, can I do it? And that at an open mic, can I do this? And that's what I did the first time, and I'm sure that's how you guys started. Let me see if I can actually do this. And then, like you both said, when you get on stage, it's like, oh yeah, I feel like I can do it.
Oh, I can do this.
Gotta learn how to do it, like how to do it right. But I know I can do it now. Yeah,
exactly.
That first or second laugh is like the hook. Yeah, it's like
Like and I'm sure that you've been through it. Maybe you haven't. Vicki hasn't, but there are times when you get up there and you have this whole bit in your head and you start to deliver it and nobody finds it.
Yes.
Yes. You're just like, okay, now what?
Now where do I go?
I
gotta, in my head, I gotta be,
because in my head it was hilarious.
It was,
and you can't just run away.
No. Oh no.
I mean, you can.
No.
But then it's even harder to get back on stage.
I mean, that time I told you guys about the heckler. I mean, people were walking off the stage going, I can't deal with that. Well, the guy running it tried to tell them all, and he took some of them aside and said, hey, listen, you got to know, if you really say you're going to do this and you get a 20-minute, half-hour gig, or you get even better and you're getting paid, you can't leave the stage just because people aren't laughing or because you're getting heckled a little bit.
I'm getting the same amount of money whether they laugh.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So on that
but
level,
if
you just have to be doing it for yourself too.
right, that's the other part. It is if you want to do this, you got to make the commitment. You know, it's got to be. Yeah, it's not like you can should. Well, I've seen some that do. I got affected by a couple that did it. Call up last minute and say, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to make it." You know? Now, one time it was in New York, and I got paid money to fill in for a guy while I was there. That was nice.
Yeah.
But another time, I'm running a show, and a girl calls up and half hour before the show and says, "I'm not going to make it." Didn't even give a reason. Just, I'm not going to be there.
We get that once in a while.
Yeah.
Usually it's not that short a notice, thank goodness. But
Yeah, that
Sometimes
was
it
the
is,
worst
though.
one. I've had other ones, but that was the worst one that I can think of. And it was like, and people were coming to see that person.
right.
It was the headliner. I mean, now the only thing
Wow.
that saved this was the featured act was pretty good. So featured got the headline money, and then I filled in some time because I was just going to host. But about halfway through, I had a partner in it, like you guys are, and he took over hosting for a couple minutes, so then he could introduce me, and it would look a little fresh anyway.
Sure.
The host just rambling on, I went on and did a set. So, but yeah, it can be like you said, Dan. If you're running shows, it's tough. You need to show up, and if you're a comic, you made the commitment. You got to follow through, and people that produce shows and put on shows that are paying you, you can't leave after 10 minutes just because somebody's heckling you or people aren't laughing. You got to get through it.
There are bits that you can do at one place that nobody laughs at, and you do that exact same set somewhere else and people find it hilarious. So it's just
I had a night
that's the
on
best part about
Broadway,
it.
3 shows. It was supposed to be 2, but the third one was because that person didn't show up. 3 shows. First show, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't. None of them were bad. The reaction, it was all pretty good. Second show, same identical material, knocked it out of the park to the point. Audience wise, didn't change a darn thing. Same identical material. And the headliner and I from the second show, we were leaving because we weren't supposed to go on the third show. And then the guy said, "Well, this guy didn't show up. I won't use his name. This guy didn't show up. Can you guys stay?" And they were paid gigs, so we were getting paid for that. And I looked at the headliner, and he looked at me, and he goes, which was nice of him to say, "John's been my feature the first 2 shows, and he set me up only if he's there, and you pay him." And I was like, that was pretty cool, the guy to say.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah. And a producer went, "All right, fine. I'll bump the other guy." I was like, holy shit, now I got people in New York pissed off at me. But I'm like, but I'll take your money. I'm not proud.
Right.
So we did it. And that third show, same exact material. And actually, it was part of it was the inflatable date part where it went on at the end. But
right.
In that one, in the second and third shows, what made them better was I picked on a woman in the crowd and said, "That's her name tonight." My inflatable date's name. I can call her anything I want. Like, what's your name? What a coincidence! That's her name tonight. So it went well. But yeah, you just never know. Same exact material, and
that's true.
3 different reactions. And
I think it helps to have more people in the audience. If there's like 5 people in the audience, you're gonna have a hard time. I mean, you might not. I mean, all those 5 people might just think you're funny as hell.
Right.
But there's also a chance that none of them are going to think you're funny. But if you've got 50 people, you got a little bit of chance of at least 1 or 2
laugh
people.
a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll have enough to be encouraged. It's just a matter of, and I tell everybody, at least audio record your set if you can. Even if it's an open mic, if you can have somebody at least nothing less than an audio record. If you can do video, that's great. If you can't, or you don't want to see yourself, and some people don't, and I understand that because I've seen myself and went, I wished I didn't.
Yeah.
I have that every day in the mirror too, so it is what it is. Like, oh shit.
Right.
Um,
I'm the worst about it. I don't ever record my stuff ever.
yeah, and you know what? The good thing about it is you can edit the heck out of your stuff. You can hear or see where you say, okay, I don't need to do that part anymore. I don't need to, because sometimes I think comics don't trust their audience and they spend too long during setup. And I know I do that. I have to be careful. You know, there's one bit I go on for like 30 seconds and none of it's funny. It's the setup. And well, you know, it don't take long to lose an audience in comedy.
No.
You know, you got to do your setup quick. Boom, boom, get in, get out, and get to the joke. So that's part of why I try to do it or have somebody do it for me while I'm going up there. But it is what it is. Everybody approaches things differently. It's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
So how long has Top City Comedy been going?
2011
All right, so we're
What,
12 years.
in
12
May.
years?
Yep.
11, 12 years.
Another friend of mine here at the real estate company, Brad Metzger, wanted to do stand up. And he kept bugging me and kept bugging me. And then we had another friend, Chris Schultz,
Mhm.
owned a place downtown called the Break Room.
Okay.
And he offered us a night. He's like, we can go ahead, we'll give you one night a week and you can do a thing. And we called it So You Think You're Funny. And at the time, it really wasn't, I mean, it was an open mic, but I had 4 people who had signed up to come and they were going to come every week for 4 weeks. And they got to do their own stuff. Like they got to do like 5 to 7 minutes, but then I gave them a challenge and every week was like a different challenge. Like, okay, here's, you know, I made them pick a magazine and do a joke based on something in the magazine. And that actually turned out pretty good. And then another time it was, I put pictures up. We did video pictures and they had to caption or describe what was going on in the picture. I don't know. Anyway, I had 4 challenges, and then whoever won got to headline a show.
Cool. Yeah. So there's
So,
kind of involved.
and then what we would do is we would do those kind of things. We'd have little challenges, and whoever we had headline, my idea was to try to teach people how to become comedians and how to be working comedians. So it was like, you get to make up your own flyers, you promote it, you know, they kind of did their own thing. And it just kind of grew from there. Brad ended up about a year or 2 into it, came down with pancreatic cancer and passed away. So we just kept it going kind of for him.
Okay.
Just as a stubbornness, it's like, well, no, we have to keep it going for Brad. So it's kind of ebbed and flowed. You know, there's been times when it's just been straight comedy. There's been times when it's just been open mic. But then after the pandemic, Dan and I kind of hooked up together to kind of keep it as a real thing. Top City Comedy, and now it's a real thing, and we want it to be. We want to do shows. We want to bring good comedians, better comedians, but we want to have our local comedians too. Because, like I say, I know that we've got very talented people in this community, and
But the pandemic it changed everything. I mean, the support has not been quite as good as it was prior to that. I don't know what it is, but you know.
Well, a lot of it, you know, and I don't want to complain about the venue, but one thing, comedians like to hang out and drink. You know, I mean, that's what they do.
Yes.
Well, like you just go 20 minutes east of here and you've got the Lawrence market, and it's so much different and so much more, would you say more vibrant? Maybe just because there's young people and they want to stay out late. Here are comedians, if you kind of look at the general age of the people that are doing comedy, we're a little bit older here in Topeka. And your audience is going to be a little bit older here in Topeka. And we just kind of have a different, you know, we want to go in and do our job and get out of there. You know, we don't want to hang out until 3 o'clock in the morning drinking.
Right.
We probably will when Dan gets here, because that's, you know,
that's a reunion, and that's what
different
guys used to do, kind of. Well,
but
I saw a perfect example of that in Manhattan.
Right.
You and I were definitely the 2 oldest guys in the room. Everybody else was probably young enough to be our kids if we wanted to pursue it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. And I've seen it in Manhattan. So Lawrence probably fits in that same boat because you're a college town.
Yeah.
You're going to have.
So you can, you can start a show at 10 o'clock in a bar and have a full,
9,
here
10
in
o'clock
Topeka,
is a
you
normal
try to
time to
do a
start.
show at 10 o'clock on even on a Saturday night.
Nobody's
Most
here.
of the folks you guys know and I would know are working the next day. You can start a show at 9:30, 10 o'clock, not get out till, if you're lucky, midnight, because you're not staying to drink. You got to go straight home, get up and go to work the next morning.
Yeah.
So, or you got a family, you can't spend that much time away. So yeah, it's tough. I can see it. But where college kids, what's the first thing
they don't have a class till
11
noon the next day anyway.
11
So
or 12 the next day. I got to take Western civilization or some crap like that.
Yeah, and I can be hungover for that.
I can go in a coma for that.
I went to college. I remember that.
I went to college. I don't remember it, but I think I was there. Yeah, I got a couple pieces of paper that show me I went. Yeah, so
I didn't even get the paper.
Yeah, I got the paper.
I just ended up in college jail, kind of like Facebook jail. They're like, you can't come back here.
Facebook jail. That's so funny. Algorithms. Everything's based.
I spend a lot of time there.
In Facebook jail?
Mm.
You're not the only one. But yeah, I have repeated things that friends have blasted and gotten thrown in jail for. I've reposted, added stuff to it that was derogatory. It said all kinds about Facebook, said all kinds of things, and I can't get in jail. One time they said, we're not posting this. We're deleting this post. Other than that, no. And
I mentioned that I had
the same thing.
Those things that have toes on the end of your legs.
Yeah. Yeah. I read about
I mentioned those and I got
that's right. And you got in trouble. Yeah. I mean, that's
feet.
Yeah. Easy.
You
Whoa.
just got demonetized.
Slow down with the body parts language, okay? Next thing you'll be talking about these, and we can't have that. All right.
Oh my God.
Remember, digits are numbers. Okay.
That's right.
No talking about digits. Okay.
And if you want to promote an event, you got to make sure that you don't invite people below 25.
Oh yeah, because somebody from Saudi Arabia might come, even if you don't mention drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If it's a
really,
they won't do it.
Under 25.
The rules are because you have to be 24 to drink in some Middle Eastern countries. Because you never know when somebody from the Middle East is going to hop a plane to come to my Thursday night comedy show
in Topeka.
Sure.
I mean, a $10 comedy show in Topeka. Who doesn't want to come to that?
Who wouldn't want to spend hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands, to take the
They
flight?
probably have their own plane.
Yeah, well, yeah, good point. Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
all they have to do,
some oil person's got.
Yeah.
Is they just have to go to www.topcitycom.
Topcitycomedy.com.
There's too many dots in there.
Yeah.
And honestly, if they just want to buy tickets and not come, we're good with that too. So
just support local comedy.
That's top.
Even if local is Topeka and Bahrain or whatever.
Topeka, Kuwait. Yeah.
Yeah.
John, is that a public restroom behind you?
I'm sorry?
John, is that a public restroom behind you?
It is. It is. It is a reenactment, I guess you would say, or recreation of a either Turnpike or New Jersey or New Jersey Parkway, Atlantic City Expressway rest stop restroom.
I like it.
That's pretty much what they do. I have one on one side, one on the other, and you go behind the wall and so
and there's a bucket right in there in between.
There's a bucket right on each side. Yeah, there's one. See how dark it is, and that's why we did it that way. The guy that put this one together did a great job. Graphically, it's great. See how dark it is behind that wall? That's what really truly is what happens. Is you get behind there and it's dark as hell till you get into the actual restroom. So it's
the original genderless bathroom. They just go in there and there's a hole in the ground.
There's a hole.
Go ahead.
Yeah. They do have them, but it's like so dank and so they can get disgusting if they're not cleaned as well. So it's like it's just great. So we were like,
it used to be a great meeting place,
Yes, for certain. Yes, for certain people and certain individuals.
Business meetings, things like that.
Business
Yeah.
meetings, certain types of activities.
Meet your congressman,
Right. Yes.
Oh, meet your congressman, meet your senator.
your senators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First eye view. I mean, perfect. You know.
If you ever see one of those tour buses with that hauls the old folks to like bingos and places like that, that's when you want to stop.
There it was. Yeah. And they're coming out like cattle. Come on, let's go.
Right.
so, but yeah, it is a recreation of one of those highway rest areas.
I like it.
It's pretty cool. Then of course you've seen the other one. Oh, I have it. The other one with the public John one, the outhouse.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, we did that one this way, but yeah,
There you go.
with the
I like it.
flies and over there, and I'm standing outside with a microphone waiting for the person to come out so I can interview them. So what was it like in there?
Mhm.
So it's pretty cool. They both get comments and both are well liked. So, but this one we made it for the podcast. So she disappeared. There she goes.
Vicky's doing something.
Oh, well.
So now that she's gone, John, we can really talk about her.
Talk some stuff.
Yeah, we can talk some real shit here. So
Yeah, her real age is this, and
right. Nothing she says is funny ever,
ever. She's not funny.
She's not funny.
Somebody thought they were going to get something, so they told her she was funny, and she's lived with that ever since.
The funny part about it is actually she took me in under her wing, I guess, and like I kind of snuck into the whole part of being part of it,
Yeah.
So this was her thing, and I just kind of like, I'm going to be part of that, So
Cool.
I just kind of.
That's the thing is you get somebody behind you or somebody who wants to include you, and it's something you like to do. It's great to have that supporting person there.
Well, I looked at it and I went to some of they used to have, we called it comedy church, and it was on Sunday mornings, and there would be a pretty large group of us, like large meaning like sometimes 8 to 10 people that would go to these meetings, and it was all about, it was almost just like a comedy breakfast in a way,
Right.
We didn't, but I kind of started thinking more about the business point of it. I was like, this is really kind of a business, you should kind of look at it as like a business. And Vicky's about the only other person that's like, yeah, I can see that, so.
Yeah, a friend of mine and I, we had Jersey with a Z. It was Jersey Comedy, and we started it up for that reason, to give comics from the area and other ones that came in and wanted to, which they did after a while, places that they could go to and get to perform. Whether it was, we held open mics, contests similar to the contest you guys had, regular shows as well. So it went pretty well, and yeah, I know the whole business. It is a business, and
because if you think about it, just as if you went to an establishment and you were able to secure an open mic at that place, that's great, but that's just that.
It's just that place, right?
Whereas if you do something like what Vicki created with Top City Comedy, now it's like a business to where you can take that logo or that name to any place you want to do it, So it's
and that's what we did. We took that logo and we took it.
Right.
We had 4 or 5 places that.
So Top City Comedy presents the show here. Yep. Top City Comedy presents the open mic here. Top City Comedy does this.
Comedy open mic here. We had a show here. We have contest here.
It becomes a brand almost.
Yes.
So
it's part of what I started with now with the Public John Media thing, but with karaoke, comedy, stuff like that. It's in its infancy, obviously, out here, because I was going to start it when I moved here, and then the pandemic hit, and that was all.
Yeah.
But then these podcasts tie into that too, as well. So it's
and it's obvious that karaoke is still going strong because you wanted to tie comedy into it.
Yeah.
And karaoke kind of overtook it, right?
Karaoke basically overtook it. I mean, if somebody says, "Hey, I want to do something," obviously I let them do it, and I tell everybody you can, but they've taken it and made it basically the audience is made it karaoke, and when there's downtime, there isn't, because they request songs to hear like a DJ. So it's kind of a party, which is fine. And yeah, it turned into that. But now at the same place, I guess it's time for us to start promoting our events here. Wednesday, we'll have an open mic in Wamego, which they don't usually have one, so they don't usually have too much comedy going on there. And there's some comic fodder to be had in Wamego. And
There is.
At Lincoln Street Lanes, which is right on Lincoln Avenue in Wamego, the main drag, the bowling alley there. We're going to have a partial built-in audience. I found out yesterday, I believe I found it, because there's a pool tournament going on in there, and we're in the same room.
Oh, wow.
But they're only using one table, which, and the owner didn't tell me that was going on, but to me, it's so close to the event, I don't want to stop it.
Well, good luck, because we had a pool hall that we did comedy in once a month right after the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it did not go well at all.
You want to do something to make the pool people on your side somehow.
Yeah.
That's what we decided is like you need to either buy them around or because they don't want to shut up for 5 minutes while you guys talk.
No.
That's what
but that's one of the things we're looking at. I wish I'd known, because I would have. It's going to be over in a couple of weeks, that league or whatever.
And you got to take what you can get. I mean,
that's
exactly. That's part of it.
I mean, I am in there for karaoke. I'm working there part-time now. So the guy really likes me, and I like them, and I like their little business. So yeah, I want to get comedy established in there, and he's for that, obviously, for as long as we can get a few people in there. So normally Wednesday night's his slowest night. He's thinking that would work. And I think he totally forgot that he still had this. So, but it's only going to be once a month. So my thing is, we'll get through the first one since it is scheduled. But like you said, we'll probably figure out a way to at least appease those folks a little bit.
Yeah, you're not wanting that much time,
No.
And
no.
You never know if it's an open mic. Some of them may want to come up and maybe tell them that.
Is I'm going to open
Just
it up.
say, hey,
you have a joke you want to come tell everybody, come on up. You want to, So
if you think you're funnier than these guys, come up and show us.
Yeah, they probably are on some of them. Yeah.
I was going to say, at some point, some of them are probably going to be pretty funny. So, so I'm looking at it as though we're going to get started on it, and let's get it going. But then you guys have stuff starting the next night, right?
Yeah. So Thursday, this next week, will be our Foundry show.
Third Thursday Foundry
show. Okay. And then the week after that, we'll be back to doing another open mic
at the Bassett.
At the Happy Bassett.
On the Wednesday, right?
Yes, on Wednesday.
What's that?
And then in June, our Foundry show is going to be a fundraiser for the Topeka Community Cat Fix program. So
get your cat fixed.
Yep.
So if your cat's broken,
you can bring it and we'll fix
it.
We will fix it, and we'll cut part of its ear off.
Just duct tape can fix everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we and we'll probably do another sometime between this month and June. We'll do another contest.
Oh, that'll be nice.
We love the contests. Yeah. Those are our favorite.
Yeah.
Now, you were actually in the last contest and you took third, I think.
Yes. And you know what? It was a lot of fun. What I liked about the contest was it had a nice number of people, but it was a very good audience, I thought. It was very receptive. I thought they were really great that night.
Especially the drunk guy that we had to call the police on.
Well, yeah, you had that too. So you had this, and then you had a little extra entertainment for your money.
Right.
What a value right there.
Someone wrote a review for a little newspaper here in town, and he kind of was like, well, there was this comedian, and then there was this comedian, and that comedian, but then there was this drunk guy, and he did like 5 paragraphs on the drunk guy.
On the drunk guy. So, yeah. Thanks for coming in to see.
So we got overshadowed,
all of the stuff. I mean, it's nice that you get in the paper, but boom, I didn't even know it made a paper, but that's cool.
Yeah, it's called, I think, the Oakland Express or something like that.
It's just a very small, like,
Was it one of those
Community
town
paper
type
or something,
community
yeah.
papers.
what is he doing? Turn
But,
around here.
That show was a lot of fun, and that was
Yeah.
one where there were some really good comics, and there are some who I think didn't take it serious that night. You know what I mean?
God, I guess
Couple of
not.
them
Their
had
drugs kicked in.
A couple
Right.
of
Yeah,
them
there
had
was
a few.
Had a comic from Wichita, and
Yes.
yeah, I don't think he said one funny thing.
Oh.
In fact, he was kind of proud of the fact that he
And he was,
didn't
yeah,
say
I was gonna
anything
say,
funny.
and he wasn't getting any laughs, but he was like, yeah, like you said, he was kind of almost proud about it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not even laughing, you don't even care. And he's taking a drink, and I was like, he was. But hey, you know what? You don't know until you put these.
Well, you should thank him, John, because that's probably how you got to 3.
That's probably how I got. That's right.
I'm just kidding, just
He
kidding.
would have
just kidding.
smoked you, pal.
You know, we've got some comedians, and she will say things like, I can't believe how rude that guy was. And I'm like, we're comedians. If we don't say something rude to you, it's because we don't like you.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Don't take it
We're only
personal
polite
because
to
I don't take you
assholes.
personal at all. You know, I have a thing. I haven't worked it in yet, but I used to have a thing where people did like it. Where I'd go, you got somebody that's bugging you. You know, when they get ready to leave, you can just go, "Oh, it was almost nice to meet you too."
Right.
Just slip it in and see if they even notice or somebody. Yeah. Or, hey, listen, if you have any problems, hesitate to call. You know?
Right.
Most of the time, if you deliver it the way it would normally be, they won't even notice.
They don't, yeah,
Like,
they
oh,
don't even
okay,
think about
thanks, and they leave, and you're like, jackass.
it. They get out to the parking lot. Did he say hesitate
say-
to call?
Hesitate.
Wait a minute.
Hesitate. Because I might need to talk to that guy. I can't tell if I can or can't. Good for you. That
Our
delay-
director for Laugh Lines, he also is the artistic director at Topeka Civic Theater, and he's like, the best backhanded compliment he's ever heard anyone give was somebody was doing a performance and it was bad, and afterwards the audience member came up and said, oh, your performance, you should have been in the audience.
That is a good one.
No, literally, you should have
Should
been
have
in the
been.
audience.
Should have been in the audience. Yeah, yeah. No. There. Yeah. That's a good one. So that's good. You guys got a lot going on then. That's
We
great.
do,
It's great. Keep
but
up.
we want more.
Yeah. Yeah. You got it. It's one of those balancing acts. You want to do more, but sometimes you don't want to oversaturate either. You know?
We've done that.
Yeah.
Where we meet up and it's like, God, I've seen you every night this week. I am so
Yeah.
sick of being funny.
Well, that's where, Dan, you and I were when we were talking earlier about different places.
Right.
That can save you from still doing stuff as often as you want, but you're not saturating too much because you're at a different place. You know, like
Right.
you got the shows at Foundry, you got open mic at Happy Bassett, you know.
And it is different crowds.
Yep, you had the show at what was that place? Gales?
Gales, yep.
Gales.
And honestly, even though we're top city, it's
Right.
not always just the Dan and Vicki show. Sometimes it is.
Right.
And sometimes those are pretty funny shows,
Oh yeah.
but it's not, sometimes we get real comedians.
Yeah.
I like the way
Most times,
sometimes
actually.
we got a real comic. I mean, you still had one.
But what's kind of nice about it is that if somebody does cancel at the last minute, we're able to at least step in and do something to fill
That's
us.
right where I was gonna go with that last show you guys had. You had that guy that he ended up becoming the featured act real or
Right.
Yes.
We bumped him up. Yep.
because your headliner couldn't make it. And then you guys stepped in and did the time. And that's what's that you can adapt to that.
Right.
So that's a good thing. But you still had a comic there that
Yeah.
We did.
people would come to see. So that was good. I say just keep it up, man. Keep plugging. Been there.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure.
Try
Thank
and do
you.
some
And
of
this
it
little guy
again.
will be ready for adoption in 2.5 pounds.
2.5 pounds. Oh, how?
No, 1.5 pounds.
1.5 pounds.
He only weighs 1/2 pound. Look how tiny.
That's an hors d'oeuvre for some
It
kind of.
really is. Oh, look at her face. Look at her little baby face.
I don't know, Dan. You know,
I just go with it.
He's the last one that's left.
well, you know, at least the show wasn't a catastrophe.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Hey,
Hey, the big guy.
we got to stop pussyfooting around.
Quit pussyfooting around. Oh,
You know,
man.
as a realtor, I can tell you, every person, you cannot be a homeowner without meow.
Uh,
Yeah.
is this thing
Oh
on?
man, is this on? You know, I'm in an apartment and I hear crickets. What's going on? You know, you're bombing when the crickets are hoarse.
Right.
They're like,
They've
you
lost
just
their
slide
freaking
quietly
voice. Chances
out.
are you
never
didn't have a
know.
good night. So,
Exactly.
so listen, guys, thanks for all your help. Thanks for
Thank
coming on
you.
today, especially. This is cool. Keep plugging away. Thanks for letting me play sometimes. That's always fun.
I just thank you for your support. You're a very supportive member of our community, and we appreciate it.
Well,
Absolutely.
you know, I'm kind of like the high-priced bra at Victoria's Secrets. I like to lift, but I don't always like to separate.
There you go. We like that.
You know,
Mine or
I
not.
think that's important. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want too much separation. You know what I'm saying? We want togetherness.
That's right.
It's very important, and that's what those high-priced pieces of lingerie do. I think anyway, or that they should do. So, right, I had to go there. Watch that be the thing that Facebook will kick the show off for.
Possibly.
But thank you guys very much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank
Keep
you, John.
plugging away. If you need anything, don't hesitate to call.
Yes.
And if we can help out at this end, or I can help. I always say we. That's schizophrenic for I. You know that. It's a different language. We. You know, I went and got hearing aids, right? And I said that I went back for the follow-up and I went, hey, doc, listen, I think I got a problem here with these things. And she goes, what? And I went, well, I've always had voices, but I had a hearing problem. I didn't know what they said before. Now that I can hear the bastards, I'm scared shitless. Those voices in my head are scaring the hell out of me now because I understand what they want. And she looked at me at first and went, oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, comedian.
Yeah, comedian, yeah. Or you have somebody go, are you some kind of comedian? Well, there are different types.
Some kind.
Yeah.
Mine is, are you some kind of a smart ass?
No, I'm a professional comedian.
I'm a professional comedian. So yeah, that's what the hell. So, all right, guys, thanks a lot. And
Thanks, John.
we're gonna go ahead and sign off. But thank you guys. We'll be up on YouTube, folks, on Facebook. And or if you just want to listen, and I don't blame you because we're entertaining without video as well, you can hear us on anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Google Podcasts, iTunes, or streaming radio at simplecastradio.com. So we will be on for you guys. We'll probably have it up within an hour and a half. Go ahead
Wow,
and
you're
plug
fast.
away and share the hell out of it. And we hope you guys liked it. The Public John Podcast says thank you to you guys. Thanks to our sponsor, Dennis and Graldi from Vineland Realty Corporation, 856-690-9482. There we have it, guys. Top City Comedy, Dan Shenk, Vicki, Carey. I'm not going to use the last name. Give your husband a break.
My husband thanks you.
And well, he should. Of course, my favorite way being, you can tell when you're older, when you're younger, a favorite way of being thanked didn't necessarily have to involve cash. Now, I just prefer the cash. So, but thank you guys. And I'm going to get out of here, sign us off. Have a great weekend, and we will see you. I'll see you next week.
Yes.
Yes.
That'll be
Thanks,
good.
John.
Thanks.
Thursday.